Vladimir Putin praised Donald Trump in a recent media appearance that he did in Russia. He said, quote, "He is a very flamboyant man," interesting choice of words, "very talented, no doubt about that. He is an absolute leader of the presidential race as we see it today. He says that he wants to move to another level of relations." That sounds somewhat dirty. "To a deeper level of relations with Russia. How can we not welcome that? Of course we welcome it." So then, when he was asked to elaborate on Trump's controversial statements, Putin said, "It is not our affair to determine his worthiness. That's up to the United States voters. As for his internal political issues and his turns of speech, which he uses to raise his popularity, I repeat, it's not our job to judge them." Okay, so people are kind of going a little far with this in the headlines. They're saying that Putin called him brilliant. I read his statements. I didn't see the word brilliant. I think what they're interpreting is when he says he's a very flamboyant man, very talented, no doubt about that. He is an absolute leader of the presidential race. People are viewing that as like, ooh, very positive, bromance in the making. That's a little bit of a stretch, but nonetheless, these are, the most positive comments I think I've ever seen from Russia on anybody in America. And people are wondering, well, what's the reason for that? I think it's twofold. One, I think, is that they're both authoritarians, and as the old saying in the streets go, real recognize real. Although in this case, it's like fake recognize fake. But also, it has to do with Syria. So Trump, even though he contradicts himself roughly 983 times a day in every single media appearance he does, and he doesn't even acknowledge it, or when he's called out for it, he just brushes it off. One of the things that he said recently was, yeah, I'd be fine with Vladimir Putin continuing to bomb ISIS in Syria. I'd work with him, I'd talk with him. It is what it is. And that's something, believe it or not, I in the past have mentioned, if somebody's going to fight ISIS, and I just don't want it to be us because we've already been fighting for over a decade, different jihadists, and we've objectively made the problem worse. So, let us sit on the bench a little bit, somebody else take over. Now, problem is, Vladimir Putin, there's been reports of Russia actually killing civilians, some of them not credible reports from faux human rights organizations that are aligned with Syrian rebels. Others seem somewhat legit. So I'm not sure if I support them leading it now because of how brazen they are in their attacks, and they probably care even less than the U.S. does about civilian casualties. But I think that's what's at the heart of it. What's at the heart of it is Putin looks at Trump and he sees a guy who made those comments. He thinks, well, maybe there's some sense of working things out in one way or another as opposed to jack-offs like Chris Christie, who's like, yeah, I'd shoot down a Russian plane to protect ISIS in Syria. That's what I do and do World War III, yeah. But what I'd say to Vladimir Putin, and I'm no friend of Vladimir Putin, but what I'd say to him is, dude, Trump talks out of his anus. Like, if you think he meant that when he said that, nobody knows what he means. Trump doesn't even know what he means when he says, yeah, no, I'm fine with Vladimir Putin bombing ISIS. Because then 3.5 seconds later, he'll say, we should be in there bombing civilians in Syria and in Iraq. I want to attack the families of ISIS, not the ISIS guys, the families. So what the fuck? Before you said we should sit out, it's not our fight, let Putin do it, let everybody else do it. He did say that at one time. And then he changed to, let's torture people even if it doesn't work, let's purposefully bomb civilians, and we need to lead the world in 900 ways. So if Putin really thinks like, ooh, a rational actor here, it ain't a rational actor. And let's be clear, Vladimir Putin is also, I would argue, not necessarily a rational actor. Okay, so keep everything in context here, but it's fucking hilarious that the guy who has pictures and does propaganda of himself working out and on horses without a shirt, like, yeah, I'm a strongman leader. That guy is now praising our version of that. The capitalist billionaire buffoon who thinks he's smarter and better than he is, who, believe you me, given enough time, he'll also be taking those absurd pictures because this is how people pump themselves up if they have these kind of authoritarian personalities where there's deep-seated insecurity. I must make the people like me. How? I don't know. Goofy photo ops. Let's do it.